Where's Andrew?
Hey, Mike.
Okay, pretty close.
I realized as I was uploading that the kid's face is in the gutter. I'm gonna extend on the right side about an inch, and that should offset it.
Yeah, that's fine. My question here. Okay, so this is all going to be paint, correct? Obviously.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go so heavy with the lines. I just wanted you to know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you can balance a little line in there.
Yeah.
But the other question I have is then when you go into like something like here, where it's becoming very primitive shapey, how's that going to work?
Where are you at?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I don't see your cursor though.
I just put a line here. See it?
Oh yeah, I see it.
So this is becoming very cylindrical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then how is this leg connecting to the pants? Is there any,
yeah, I'm still kind of working on the connection of like the limbs and stuff. I just wanted to kind of put them in there. I wanted to elaborate on that more tonight.
Okay.
I just kind of wanted like an impression of like
fine.
what
I mean, you
doing,
got it pretty far along, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I wanted to figure out like the placement of things and stuff.
Yeah, that makes
I didn't take it as far as I felt like I should have.
And then
this class, but yeah.
This the teacher here, right?
Yeah.
Why is this shoulder so far back?
I wanted her to have a really long neck because I thought it'd be kind of funny.
That's okay. I think this could get moved forward though.
Okay.
Like it's fine stylistically if you want to push the, the neck and all that. That's fine.
Yeah, I wanted her to be like kind of long and like not unsettling, but like intimidating. I don't know. When I was a kid, tall people intimidated me.
Everything intimidated me when I was a kid. Actually, that's not true. But what the hell happened here?
Now I'm all tall. Yep.
Hang on.
I used to be afraid of tall people, and now I headbutt doorways.
What's that? Is that the background? Is that a TV or something?
I don't know who that is. That's not on my end.
Who is that?
I think it was Dominique.
There it is.
It's not me.
I don't see anybody with their mic on. There it went. Okay. I pulled it forward a little bit. You can see it kind of works a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely.
And then, okay, here's
forward.
my other thing. When I'm looking in here, like when I get into this area here, sort of this more in here, I guess, that's becoming kind of a visual jumble. Can you see that?
Yeah, it kind of all masses together.
Yeah, so we got to get that where we got a hierarchy of information, correct?
Yeah. How would you recommend going about that?
Well, one thing is, okay, so one thing right now, you got a lot of heavy line where I think, and I wouldn't get too hung up on the line right now because you're going to lose it from this one to the next one anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But like when you get to value, a lot of this will become like separating this through value. Like the underbelly, this gator might be lighter. So this kid can be wearing a little darker shirt. And you just start doing your light, dark thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I would kind of look it over like this being placed right in his mouth like that, almost like, is that in his mouth?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I might.
I can do better of showing that.
I might, I don't know, tilt it or something. Because I thought it was behind him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I might tilt it or something that's in his mouth, tilt it a little bit. So then it's telling me it's not on the floor.
Okay.
I think all this stuff back here reads pretty good.
Okay, it's not too much. I thought maybe I went overboard a bit, but
no.
Okay, I liked where it was going. So I kept going and pushing it until like I couldn't think of what else to put in there.
No, what does work is that you've got this sort of unit back here, and then you've got this sort of unit here, and then what's this here?
You know those like it's hard to depict with line, but you know those like cards that teachers would flip in classrooms? Like you know, they have like the green card. No, it's like the green card, the red card, the yellow card thing.
Nah, we didn't do that.
Oh, well, when I was in like elementary school, we'd have like a card system. So like if your card was green, it meant you were doing good for the day. Yellow
like
meant you're kind of
demerits.
pushing. Yeah.
Oh, it's like gold stars and all that.
Yep.
Yeah. And my teachers used to have them on like this little mesh thing that they'd hang on the wall. So I thought I'd have that like kind of in the background.
Well, I mean, that could work. It's got like little pockets in it.
Yeah, there's like pockets and then there's cards inside the pockets that are different colors.
Okay, that could work.
I kind of wanted to add some color to the background, so I wanted to plan ahead for that.
What's this way back here?
That's a skeleton.
Okay. That's what I thought. I like the bulletin board.
And then I have the ABCs trim above the boards. I thought
Yeah, I
that'd
like
be
that.
a nice
I think,
touch.
do they still have that?
I think so. I see
would
them. I see them in pictures and stuff.
Do they still have the cursive ones?
No, probably not.
They still should.
They
Yeah,
should.
be teaching
They
cursive.
should.
I mean,
I
I'm
remember
terrible at cursive. but
My
I'm-
teacher told me cursive was dead and didn't even teach the class.
That's total bullshit. That's so narrow-minded.
Yeah, I didn't learn cursive until I was in college.
You ever get a letter from somebody and it's beautiful penmanship? It has an impact on you. You know, my dad had beautiful penmanship and he didn't even finish high school, but they taught penmanship like really rigidly when he was a kid. He had really beautiful handwriting, you know. My handwriting's terrible because I started writing in block the way I write now. I started writing like that when I was a kid. So then I just completely stopped doing cursive.
I don't know. I like the way you write though.
Yeah, I don't mind the way I write, but I don't like that I lost cursive.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Because I started writing like that so young that and I went, oh, I like doing this. And I kind of modified it and played with it and, you know, stopped doing cursive. I was never good at it. I was never great at cursive anyway, but. Okay. So the main thing is I like it and everything. I'd say just get it. I'm wondering if, I mean, I do like this something in his mouth like that.
You think maybe it shouldn't be a block?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, because I was trying to play around with things with that.
No, I think that's fun. I get all that.
Yeah.
But you can see it's a cleaner read when it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah, it
what's
is.
this right here, this half round thing?
Those tables that they have in like schools where the teacher sits in the table and then like the kids sit around it.
I'd make sure that's really readable. I wasn't reading that.
Okay.
And it's got this bite out of it, and my brain was going to donut.
Oh yeah. I thought it'd be kind of funny to show like within the havoc, maybe there was a food fight. So I have like pizza boxes and plates and pizza around the room and tomatoes.
Yeah, you can do all that.
Like that.
And then
like
just
gum
make
everywhere.
sure that these kids are worked out. Here's the thing: when you're doing this kind of thing, you're going to paint it, especially this kind of thing. You want to make sure that there's enough meat on the bone with the figures and all that stuff to paint, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, yes, there's people who do very flat styles in watercolor and different, and that's all great. But I want to push you guys a little further, okay?
Okay.
And then if you go into that style later, that's fine. And it can be minor stuff because I could pull up a ton of stuff that's really not that the drawing is so complicated, but they just did beautiful work on it with the watercolor, but they kind of set up the watercolor with that drawing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Start going to finish, like really starting to finish it out.
Okay. Do you want to see more like developed line, or am I good to go into like tone to try and separate those?
You could probably go into tone. Just start adding whatever you're going to add into it. But by the way, okay, I don't care if you do your value comps in the computer. That's fine. I think it's a little different when you go to the color comps.
Oh yeah, I want to do traditional color comp so I know how the paint's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. So if you go and you do a color comp in, I might have said this already, but if you go and do a color comp with the computer, you're picking color and then shoving it around and modifying it. If you're making color, with paint, you have to literally mix that paint and figure out how that works. If you do your color comps traditionally, which you should for a traditional piece, and as much as possible, do it apples to apples. So if I'm doing a color comp for a watercolor piece, ideally I'd like to use watercolor. By the time you get done with that, you kind of have an idea of what's working, and you might want to make notes. If you land on some really cool color combination, you're like, God, that's the perfect like slate blue. Just make a little note on it and go, I mixed burnt sienna and this and ultramarine blue and a little bit of this and some whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And make notes to yourself if you hit because sometimes you'll hit really cool colors that like if you don't remember that weird mix or whatever, you'll forget how you did it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then if you write it down, use it again, then it becomes part of your color mixing toolbox, where it's like, how to get, after a while, how to get a lot of really cool subtle colors because you've been doing it a long time. But that'll at least help you remember the ones that you hit.
Before we move on, I had a quick question too.
Yeah.
I really like doing kind of wide, like longer, like frames. Are we allowed to do that for the project, or should we, can we go past 11 by 17? Can we do like 11 by 20 or so?
I want to keep it to 11 by 17.
Okay.
The reason being is that, okay, so if it was my Friday class, because we're doing this project a little bit differently, but we're doing this project. Maybe I might say, okay, because that's just a mechanics class.
Yeah.
When it comes into an illustration class like this, you're always going to have parameters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of replicating the job, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have parameters. And it's like what I see a lot with, especially in this class more than anything, because in this class, I'm sort of asking everybody to go, okay, let's move into an illustrative mindset. Okay. And a lot of times, like last term, I had one or two, like when you pulled them out of the sort of that environment of entertainment design, all that stuff, and said, no, none of that. They stumble quite a bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and some of that to me kind of feels like there's not enough parameters around that stuff. And like kind of it's sort of like all these cliches are fine. And then people are drawing the same thing over and over again. And then people go, oh, wow, you draw that really well. And it's, well, that's all they draw. If I take them out of that context and go, give me a kid's book, they fall apart because all they're used to drawing is monsters or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think some parameters around this stuff. Now the next one we're going to do, I'm going to be a little looser. Okay. On size and obviously I'm not going to give you the story and all that stuff. So it'll loosen up as we go along. And then there might be, I don't know, maybe the last one. I don't know if the last one, if I give you a hard size, I think that one I kind of let you do what you want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Where's Alin?
I'm right here.
Which one do you think's working?
Possibly the one on the top right, maybe.
That's
Not
kind of
sure.
where my brain's going too.
Yeah.
I think I kind of like this hand better though.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised, but not overly surprised.
Yeah, I can add that to the other one. I can do that.
And do you think the kid's head should be buried behind the curtain?
Well, I don't know, maybe.
I think I'd show the kid's head.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because then you can show a little determination and he's like, come on,
Okay.
I'd start developing number 2 to finish.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I just wanted to play around with like the final ideas, but like
I want you to play around. I think that you need to play around.
Yeah, but actually just thinking about like actually adding in the details, but I just wanted to like know which details actually work.
Define details.
Like when you said to add in like some extra stuff into the room.
Oh, okay.
Like that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just weird about the word detail. I was just talking about this in my last class. Yeah, because I really worry that people will get, when they hear that word, it triggers a bell in their head and they start getting real like all uptight and stiff and start putting all this, trying to put all this stuff in there. And it's like, if you put all this stuff in there, it will, if you do it from the perspective of like, I'm trying to put all this detail in there, it's actually going to look amateurish and not pro. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah. So the way I always look at it is I go primary shape, go into my smaller shapes. That's my secondary shape. Go into my smaller shapes, my tertiary shape, and then my smallest shapes, and then I'm out. And basically your smallest shapes are your quote unquote detail. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
But then it's much more readable. It's much more, you're more indicating it and, you know, that kind of thing, and really hyper controlling it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's Benton?
Right here.
Do you think his posture should be a little more formal?
The gator?
Yeah.
I was going for like a more playful posture.
Okay.
intentionally.
Is he doing the handshake here?
Yeah, he's doing like the handshake and his tail's wagging. Yeah.
I'd really make sure, because it almost feels like his hand's this way. Is it this way?
I wasn't really able to see, like, other than like color, a difference between the top and the bottom of their claw hands. So I was gonna color the bottom of it yellow, that lighter yellow tone, to show that it's the palm of his hand that he's lifting up.
I mean, you could do something like that where just this
Okay.
dips down a little, like just like a hand does. Because when they
Mhm.
do that, dogs have that. And I know we're not doing, it's not anatomical correctness right now,
Yeah.
but you have to sort of get that posture. That's why I was saying like maybe it goes to begging, because that's really easy posture. They get up on this and they do this, right?
Yeah.
The paw thing, you got to get that just right. So I know like, oh, he's doing the begging thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I like the slobbery ball. And then what's going to be, so, okay, so this is sort of getting close to your final pass, right?
Yeah.
Again, what's going to be on this tail?
A lot of what I'm planning to do with his scales and is going to be more coloration. So
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, I was going to do it more in color to have
The only
like
thing I
two.
might do is just make sure that this other row of whatever those are called is there.
Okay.
That it kind of turns the form a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I put him in there on my original sketch, and it made it seem too busy right there, so I pulled him out for the. For
I would
this
just
one.
do that much right there, and this could just be
Okay.
This could just be the front wash. It doesn't even have to have a line. Then this
Okay.
goes to a little lighter value and then back to a darker value.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
can
you just
definitely do that.
button against it. Okay, so how old are these kids?
I was figuring like 8, 9. I don't know.
I get them younger looking. They're starting
Younger
to look a
looking?
little like junior high.
Okay.
And then he's sort of doing the hey, I don't know thing, right?
Yeah.
I would when you're doing that pose, get rid of this. It's really about raising up these shoulders and then this. Do you see what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely.
You know,
tweak
it's
that.
all about what, you know, and you kind of push that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's a pretty easy thing to hit. I like that the head's tilted a little bit. I'd loosen these guys up a little. And then also, and you're probably going to do this in paint, so it's fine. You know, make sure I get a couple of things. I might maybe see if I'd look at kids sitting down or something, see if there's anything else. They might just do that. That might be fine. This kid, I like that feels a little more sort of in the moment. Does that make sense?
Okay.
She's got the stick. That's good. I just young them up.
Okay.
And then like this, you're going to get a little fold right there. But you can do that in paint. It's better if you do it in paint, actually. This, I think, is fine. The teacher. This has a certain flavor to it that I can't place, but it reminds me of something. Then you got a baseboard. Is this floor going to have anything on it?
I can add more to it. Like looking at some of the other work, I'm seeing that there's a lot of empty space on mine. So yeah, I could start adding more stuff.
I mean,
to
it could just be floor tiles. It could be
Yeah.
like, you know, sometimes I'll just go, what can I put over here? And I wouldn't do this here, but like, you know, is there a trash can there? And I wouldn't put that there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can throw some like backpacks or something in there.
Yeah, just something. Then make sure this has a frame.
Okay.
These kind of clocks are really specific. They're just really simple.
Yeah.
I think they're cool, actually. This snout feels like I should see a little more there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
And this you're going to do with color. Okay. I think that's it. And then maybe up here, just to break this up, maybe there's just a light or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Or what did I just do? Or yeah, I don't know. They have stuff in the roofs.
Like ceiling tiles and
Yeah,
stuff.
ceiling tiles or a light. They usually have horrible. I don't know if they still do. They used to have horrible.
I'll hang some like horrible. I'll hang some like classroom stuff.
Yeah, like we used to have one that went like this. Like, I think they kind of hung from the ceiling.
Yeah.
They were like a ballast or whatever they call that.
Those fluorescent ones.
Yeah, they were totally fluorescent. Luckily, we got a lot of daylight, so we weren't under them that much. But they were pretty ugly.
Yeah, I can
Nowadays-
add that right there.
What's that?
Nowadays, like classes block out all the windows just so they can have lights on inside, like
Why?
during daylight. I hate that.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. Like all of the windows are blacked out with like black paper sometimes, and then like they have the lights on.
That's super weird. I mean, it's really unhealthy.
You know, I theorize it might have something to do with like the shootings.
It might.
I don't know.
Yeah, it might. I mean, that's where my brain went. What was I just going to say? It might. Let me see. Where'd it go? That's weird. I just amputated your gator and the leg disappeared.
Just deleted his leg. Okay.
Wait a minute. Where did it go? That's weird. There it is. Okay, so I think this one needs to go a little lower right there.
Okay. Break up that a little bit more.
Well, yeah, and this one's is in front, so it's going to be a little bit in front. That feels a little more balanced. That's better.
Okay.
I think that's it. And then, you could do something to your point. I don't know, something. They always have, like Andrew had the letters or whatever. It could just be whatever. Something. I always like to break this up if I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking at Andrews and I was like, yeah, I really got to break that transition on the ceiling up a bit.
And the perspective feels a little pinched back here in relation to here. It feels like it's really going into perspective pretty quick.
Okay.
But that's just probably, or try, and I could be wrong. That's a little too wide right there. But, and then I think that's it. And then she's just going to fade out to this down here.
Yeah, I was just going to vignette her legs off.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Because I needed to put the writing somewhere, and it was like I'm giving the gator a lot of dominance in the field. So
Yeah, you should. I think that part, all that staging stuff, I think it works fine.
cool. Okay.
It's keeping it in a real. The trick here is keeping it like loose but structured, and what are you going to paint as opposed to what you're going to indicate a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a trick. Or it's tricky. It's not a trick. Where's Candace?
Hello.
That's my hat.
No.
Yes, it
Mine.
is.
You're wearing a hat already.
I know. I'm wearing this one because you took that one. All right. You went to value?
Well, on the sketch that I had, it didn't have as much distinction. So I just wanted to like at least put in.
Well, the good part is it's working.
Oh, okay.
Because normally I don't like you jumping ahead and everything. Is this whole like the part in shadow, is that basically going to be primarily like one color?
Maybe.
How are you seeing it?
What do you mean one color?
Well, like a lot of times I might have that where they're on the stage or whatever. You know, they're getting color. They've got, I don't know, maybe his suit is red or something. I don't know, right? But it's like blah, 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 all this. And then as it shifts over into the shadows, the whole thing becomes like a cool sort of idea. And then I keep the color like fairly minimal in the shadows.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking?
I was thinking like that, like the shadows would be like a blue, and then the lighted area is just like a basic yellow light or something.
Yeah, because it'd be cool if you get like some real subtle light coming from out here introduced into like a cool environment on this side and a little bit on the kids, but not where it's screaming, where it's in shadow, but they're catching a little bit of light from the stage on that side. I think would look really cool.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to do some color comps for that probably.
Yeah.
Right? Because what people do is they make it screaming yellow or screaming hot on the side. It's like, no. It's in shadow. So what does that mean happens? Okay. How does that, do I push it up where, if it's a coolish, I start pushing it and I roll through the spectrum, I start going a little more violet and I start moving into my warms and maybe I just leave it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's going to need to roll a little bit,
Especially with watercolor, it could blend, like subtly blend.
Yeah. It's really just about finding the right color combinations. It's really just about that. I mean, how they, I'd probably wet that whole environment down and I'd wash in whatever my overall was. And I'd probably be pulling things out and dropping that warm in there while everything's still a little damp, so they start to commingle a little bit, that kind of thing. I have a really good book. It's probably not in print anymore. I think it's in my office and they did from the Mulan movie, the original Mulan movie. They did this whole kid's storybook, but it was all watercolor. It had a lot of these kind of, I'll try and find it. Actually, if I go down to school, I'll grab it. And it was really beautifully done. I mean, there was like a team of people on it, I think. So they had certain people, they all drew it. And then probably a team of people that did the watercolors, it was a team effort thing, but it was really, really, really well done.
Yeah.
Okay, this is good to go. Like start fleshing it down, and like the only thing I'd say now is like, well, I mean, the hair you're probably going to do a lot with wash, right? Okay. I would because you've already got your value comp. Now, what I would do, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, how I would do this. So I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. But I like it. I think it's cool.
Okay, cool.
It could be pretty spectacular, so make sure it is.
All right. Yeah.
Now you promised this, you got to deliver now.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try and get through these quick. Okay, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah. Okay, so it was the food on the tray, right?
Yeah, I made that plate bigger, made the apple bigger.
Okay. It's a little better jumble of shapes as I remember it. I'd put the little thing on his hat right there, right?
Okay.
I'd probably also put the little thing on there just to give it something there. And then and this is just stuff that I do, sometimes I put that little adjustable thing to break the silhouette. Does that make sense?
Right.
You don't have to do that though. I'm wondering if these need to be so small and so many of them,
Okay.
but I don't, that's actually, I don't know. Okay. Sometimes I say something, I think it's a good idea, and then somebody tries it and I go, oh, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, the ones on the other side are a little larger on top of his tail. On the right.
And I also don't want them too sharp.
Right.
Otherwise they start to remind me of like, I think it's better a little bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I do the same thing up here. Make sure they got a little bit of not too sharp. Yeah, it looks better bigger.
Okay.
I'd also, when I do things like this, where you have this sort of, yeah, you're kind of doing it. I might break this edge a little more, like maybe make that little roundness a little more prominent.
Right.
That way it just sort of doesn't feel like one line.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Here, that's fine. You know, I might give him a pull right there. The kid, I think, I usually darken up the top of the eye a little bit. And then here, I think it looks like you're starting to do it. I might, depending on what's, yeah, it looks like you are doing it. What colors are in this environment? I'd for sure, like if I got, I don't know if there's whatever's below him or whatever. God, that's irritating. You know, I'd put a little reflected. It looks like you're doing that.
Right. Yeah.
A little bit of reflected light in here gives me a little bit of color.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be a little darker value in here, but that's a value thing, so it doesn't matter yet. What's your major?
Media arts.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm just doing focusing on graphic design.
Oh, okay.
Right now, you know.
Okay, I gave him a couple of. Is this a zip up or a?
I could put
no, it'd be a zip up
on
huh?
there, huh?
Huh?
Yeah.
You could. It's that feels a little,
or buttons, huh? Yeah.
It could be buttons, or it could be like a big. God damn it. Big zipper idea.
Oh yeah.
Then you can put the zipper pull. Oh, it'd actually be on the other side. Put the zipper pull on here. That's the wrong. See how that's facing completely the wrong way? Maybe it's here. And then this side can just have the little. That's probably fine. The button makes it feel more like a sweater I'd wear, like an old fart sweater.
Mm.
Okay, you're going to be ready to go to value then. Yeah?
Okay, perfect.
No questions, right? You okay?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks.
We got to get this fleshed out. Where's Christine at?
I'm right here.
We got to get it fleshed out, yeah?
What does that mean? I'm sorry.
More finished.
Okay.
I mean, right now, these are very flat shapes, right? You got to really give them some oomph. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What's this right here? Oh, is that the text?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of clever. So the principal saying it to somebody?
Yeah. So he's on the phone, but you just can't see it. So they're
Kind
sitting.
of like that. Make sure that this, if you're going to do this, make sure that this looks really, man, it's irritating.
I was actually going to make it like, you know how in cartoons it's like pointy? It's not like an actual.
Okay, just make sure it looks real designed.
Yeah.
The baseboard. You need, stuff, a few things. And then these guys got to really get fleshed out.
Okay.
Like they got to feel finished. You can't paint anything until it feels really finished. And like I have no idea what this kid looks like. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I should give him a face.
Well, the whole thing needs to be fleshed out.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't have any problem. And I still think I wouldn't make these the same size. I think I'd make this alligator bigger.
Okay.
And I'd probably, I know I always do this, but I'd probably put his feet like that. Then I'd probably have this draped down somehow onto the floor. So I get some mileage out of the tail, right?
Yes.
Is the kid bummed?
Yeah.
Like you can give him the big moppy hair, but I need to see his face.
Okay.
And then this, you got to flesh out you just got to flesh out all the, there's a fold here, whatever it is. What's the actual, it's like, I don't know how he's sitting really. I got to figure that out. Like all that stuff, right?
Okay. Thank you.
So try and get this pretty close to finish this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I want to be in color. I'd like to be in color by like Wednesday, or
Okay.
at least starting to think about color. Okay. Or people transferring and all that kind of stuff. Because transferring is going to be a little bit of process. It's not hard, but the first time you do it, it's weird. And you can light table these too. Okay. So if you just want to light table it, that's fine.
Okay.
You don't have to do the way I do it. But if you light table it again, make sure you're going back into it with the mindset of I'm drawing it again, not I'm tracing all my lines. That will destroy your drawing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I'm light tabling it, I'm drawing it just like I draw normally. I'm drawing way back here and I'm sort of redrawing it and I'm kind of correcting things as I go and just trying to make a nice final drawing.
Okay. Thank you.
Because you can really squeeze the life out of it if you do that.
Okay.
Where's oh, here we go. Where's
I'm right here.
oh. Is that our right ratio? Where'd you go?
Right here.
Yeah. You're ready to go.
Okay.
Just get your final drawing done on this. Make sure it's 11 by 17. We're going to have our inch border with the paper around that, right?
Yeah.
I don't really have a
Got
lot
it.
of comments on this. Does that make sense?
Okay. Sounds good.
What do you think?
I like it. I like it so far. I just need to make it bigger.
Well, I would just, what I would do, probably the same thing you would do, is just go.
If you're looking to edit the picture, like stretch it out, I think you just go to edit and transform, right?
No, I can do that. I just don't want to do that. I like to just pop it into a new document. Oops. There we go. Yeah, you're not that bad. All you got to do is just, you can add a little of that in there if you want. And then the tail obviously can still just go off the page the same way, right?
Right.
So all you really got to do is just deal with this side more than anything. Yours is like a cover. We talked about that, right?
Yeah, you told me.
This would be a cover for sure. Oh, the other thing I'd say is, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I'm wrong. I like the alligator hands. I like how simplified they are.
Thank you.
Where's your portfolio?
It's in the works.
Have you pulled everything?
Not everything.
Are you
But
going
some
for
of them,
internships?
yeah.
Have you applied for any internships?
No,
Why?
I just haven't.
Start doing that.
Okay.
Disney, Nickelodeon, whoever, right?
Okay.
Start going for internships, man.
Dang, okay.
I mean it.
Oh my
Stop
gosh.
putting her on the spot.
Oh my gosh. Everybody's
Did I
yelling
tell
at
you?
me.
Wait, was it in this class where I told you about my old student who got an internship at Nickelodeon?
I don't remember.
She was this girl and she was a total ball buster. She was cool. And I think I was talking to her about something like this. It's a long time ago. This is like 20 years ago. And it was something like that. And but she took it differently. I don't even know what the conversation was. I don't remember. And she drove to Nickelodeon because that school was right, it was pretty close to Nickelodeon. And she went up and she went to the guard tower and she goes, I want an internship. And the guy's like, that's not how you do it. And she goes, I want an internship. She got an internship like that. Just by going in and kicking the door down, which I thought was super cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, super ball buster, that girl, man. Then I think she did pretty good. I should actually see if I can find her. Okay, who's this? This is Derek. Where are you at? Is he here? I don't see him.
He's in the chat.
Why not on speaker or whatever?
Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
What's in the chat?
Nothing. You were just asking if he was in the class. So.
Okay. Where'd it go? Hang on. Okay, for some reason this isn't opening. There it is. Okay, so what's he doing? He's throwing stuff to him and he's juggling it?
Yeah, he's juggling fruit.
Okay, this is another one where we got to get it fleshed out, much more fleshed out, right?
Okay.
And I also think, so if this thing is like, he's juggling and the kid's throwing stuff, the kid should also be a little bit presentational. Does that make sense?
Can you explain it a little bit more, please?
Like, he's got to throw it to him in a kind of, whatever you call that, showman-y way. Does that make sense?
Is it bad that I say no?
I don't know how else to explain that. So if two guys go on stage or two people go on stage and they have a juggling act and one guy's like up there doing his thing and the other person's throwing stuff to him, he's not just going to go, he's going to have big moves and all this kind of stuff that he's going to do too. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. I get it.
Like
yeah.
showy.
Yeah.
And then you got to be careful when you're designing things like this. This guy's going to fall backwards. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you always got to think about where that center of gravity is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then this sleeve is going to pull this way probably. That's kind of a weird transition. I don't like that sleeve I'm doing. It's a good place where you can put, kind of did that. Be really careful with things like hats. I might give him some big, it's too big. Make sure he feels very kid. It might make the eyes a little bigger. Whatever that is. Make sure the shirt feels shirt-like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This shoe should actually come more like that. So, and then he's holding this tray. I like the thumb over the tray. That's cool. And starting to get them a little more. And then I always flip it. You know, and then I start working on it this way. Now I feel like the hand needs to be out more this way. It's going to be a pull there. And so on and so forth, right? And then this guy's got to get really fleshed out.
Okay.
You know, is his mouth open? And again, you know, what kind of pose is he in? Like I think you're getting a little of it here. I might put that foot out there and put these hands out further, maybe one up higher. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'd play around with that a lot and see where they land. You know, because you're doing this,
Yeah.
right? And I know because I'm quite the juggler.
Prove it.
Okay, I'll prove it right now.
Ooh,
Show us.
okay. So I'm like showing.
Here's my juggling balls.
Wait, that's actually so cool. Good job, Mike.
Look.
You just threw it out.
I've been waiting for years for somebody to ask me to see those juggling balls.
Finally.
I thought we were gonna see you juggling.
Yeah.
I'm saving.
You own
that.
it.
See? I'm a showman. I saved that. But I will.
You haven't proved anything though.
I will juggle. It's just a little tight in here right now. After having worked with Barnum and Bailey and all these Cirque du Soleil and everything, I kind of like a little more stage presence stuff. Okay. All right. Does that make sense, Garrett?
Yeah, I get it. I'll look at some like juggling videos and like get some references.
Yeah. And you know, and also, you know, if he was throwing that like that, I might do the follow through on the hand. Right? I don't have this drawing, but one thing I really love is when somebody like throws somebody like pitching or throwing something and they throw that follow through like that. And then you see the ball off in the distance.
Yeah.
So here, they're here. The same thing with that. You might go, you know, that hand doing that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hey, Cynthia, is that portfolio? You got that portfolio? Cynthia?
I'm working on it.
Okay, cool. Can I see some video of you working on it? Just know, so I know that that's going on. Be quiet, Christine. Candace, Lou. All right, who's this? Oh, Dominic. Okay. Where you at?
That's fine. Yeah, I'm here.
Now, be careful when you're doing color or value that you're not using an airbrush.
Okay. Yeah. It's my first time kind of
Like I just watched.
it,
Okay,
so
I just
like,
watched
all
that.
right.
I just watched that Klaus movie or whatever it's called, and everybody's been raving about that shading technique they did, and I thought I didn't like that. The whole movie looked soft and airbrushed. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't like.
I get that.
I don't know why that was such a big deal, to be honest with you. I mean, they were kind of doing that kind of
Okay.
cell shading all the way back with Roger Rabbit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't really like it that much on Roger Rabbit. Anyway, you want to really
Hey,
manage your
keep it in
edges.
mind.
So you want to have hard and soft edges when you're using paint or, you know, paint or anything, right? You want to manage that. You can't have all the edges be
Yes.
soft or it just gets very 70s airbrushy, you know? Okay. I still think, I think maybe now the way you posed them, and I don't know if this will work. Can his shoe be resting like here?
Like on his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what they always
I just thought that would be a little bit kind of freaky because his foot would be in his mouth. So I didn't want it to.
I don't, just
too
because
scary.
they would do this thing where they open it up.
Yes.
So it's
Mhm.
kind of like the same thing as doing that and opening up his mouth and putting his head in it. You don't have to
Okay.
do it. It's not necessary. It's fine.
I could try it.
I've got it a little too extreme. That means this leg would probably need to go a little less extreme, maybe. And then again, we've got to flesh out this character some more, right?
Yeah.
Like this hair is just a big shape. You know, maybe I'd put a little of that palm there. What kind of shoes is he wearing?
Not like regular black like tennis shoes or something. But I didn't want to put too much detail on them.
I wouldn't put a lot of detail, but I would put, like, if they're wearing shoes, you know, I usually just start them like that. But then I just give it enough to say tennis shoe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because right now they're feeling like those, like the dorky orthopedic shoes I had to wear when I was a kid. Okay. That traumatized me.
Sorry.
Same thing here. Kind of loosen this up a little. That's a kid. I might give him the big dorky ears. You know, you kind of gave him the skinny neck. Make sure that this feels like hair a little more. Yeah. How do you do that? You go. I might take one of them. Make sure that feels, you know, again, stylize that or style it or whatever I'm going to call it. I don't know. I might have one kid just raising their hand. Just to get something to break that. And because kids just do weird stuff, or when things are happening, they're like, oh, hey, you know, they got a question or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't really have any filters. You know what I mean? This guy is getting close. I'd be careful with these just dying into a hard line like that. I'd look at, you know, like in the interior doing that, but I'd probably try and keep them where they're not just dying into a hard line. He's an organic thing, right?
Yes.
And you
Okay.
can do some surface texture with paint. Watch this perspective here. It's getting it. Can you see how the top of the desk is doing that? It's like doing that. So it's got to flatten back out a little bit. And I'm not saying, by the way, because this sounds weird, but early on, sometimes, I mean, yeah, that perspective is a little funky, but early on, if I said, hey, go do a perspective drawing in the room, I can almost guarantee you it would kill everybody's drawing. The whole thing would end up looking like a ruler drawing. Does that make sense? Which is why I don't say, hey, go do a perspective thing, but try and get it in perspective, you know, freehanded or whatever. Because again, it's one of those transitional things where people are learning perspective. And I'm super stoked that everybody's learning perspective. I think that's awesome. But then you have to learn how to work over that perspective and then loosen it back up and get back to your really nice loose drawings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a trick. And you know, you'll get used to it after a while. Now it looks like somebody's hanging from the ceiling because I put this shoe here. So I'm going to go. Can't do it. Oh, that's on the background. I can't finish it. Oh, well.
That's okay.
So make sure. So what I'm trying to get to basically is finish drawing, right? That means that everything, you got to go through it. You got to do this balance of it's not too what do you call that? Tight and stiff, but also really designed, really finished out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that doesn't mean, again, a bunch of detail. It means that these things feel nice and finished, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like this finger right here, he's got a little bit of the lobster guy hands.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a thumb. You know, and a kid, you know, a kid's a little different. It's not going to be. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I know why. You know, it's not going to be some big gnarly thumb, but I might just kind of put that little thumb thing on it like that. And then maybe that little pad. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then you can put these kind of things, whatever it is. Just to make sure. I this hand right here, I'd probably have it bend a little bit. Ta-da. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And that falls into the category almost like squash and stretch or something like things you would do in animation where you're pushing that action a little bit. You know what I mean? Because there's no reason not to. It's a children's book. Does that make sense? I mean, it's all about pushing it and making it fun and all that kind of stuff. Okay, you have any questions? Go ahead.
No.
And then also like this desk, it's got to have a little bit of personality. I'd thicken the top up a little bit. Might make things a little chunkier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd probably put a big desk pad on there. Maybe a computer. And I'd probably even, I don't know if I would.
I was thinking that.
I always want to put the old school ones, but I don't even know if young people even know what those look like anymore. Then I'd break this border with something. Like maybe it's a pencil cup. And then this chair, give it enough information to be interesting.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's got a button in the center of it and it's just sort of pulling like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's better.
Round off these corners a little bit. I don't want sharp edges. Desk for the most part. This is a common mistake right here. Okay. Where people go, okay, here's my desk. They basically make a box. And they do you did the leg thing here. But then they do this. Like they don't make desks like that. This lip, for the most part, is going to come out a little bit. And I'm sure you can find some modern ones where I'm wrong, but you know what I mean? Those old school desks, they usually have an overhang.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? You know, so you just give everything a little bit of personality. Okay.
Sounds good.
I think you're figuring out the pose pretty good, though. Should his hand be holding his mouth open and this hand has the hat, or is that just going to get too weird? Just leave it the way it is. It's fine.
Okay.
There's just something about that old thing, you know, that old cartoon gag where they open the thing and.
Yeah, I think if I have the hat there, it's going to get in the gutter.
I think it might just get awkward in the read. But I do like the idea of having open, but I also like the idea of the hand of the hat because the hat's very presentational.
Yeah.
You have any questions? No?
No. Thank you.
Where are you at?
Hi, it's me. Oh, okay.
Starting to work.
That's good.
How are you gonna do the clouds? You just gonna lift them out?
Probably, and then add a little color in there.
Now this one, the perspective's kind of funky, but in some areas it's kind of working. I might pull this a little bit. Okay, what's going on? And this again, I might pull that over a little more.
Okay.
Usually, I mean, you know, things like this, and this is just my thing. You know, I might have that roof kind of bow a little bit. Come out. I mean, that's just neither here nor there. It's just stylistic stuff.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then, I mean, that's up to you though.
Yeah,
Then
I'll
make sure,
play.
and then with these kind of shingles, I might actually show a few individual ones the way, because to me, these feel like those big wood shingles.
That's what I want.
Then I always do the serrated top, serrated sides, because that's how they overhang, like here. I'm overdoing it, but you get the point. You know, blah, blah, blah. Then this. You know, I just want to make sure they have some, you know, and they are starting to have personality, so I'm not saying they don't.
Okay.
I think what I would try and do, I just ran out of undos. Hang on. Wow, it won't even let me go back. Hang on.
So, do you only want like value by Monday?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
I want to get through value and color comps next week. That way we're into painting. If I can get through that, then we're into painting. And then again, I'm not going to go through this whole process on the next couple of things because you're, I mean, I'm going to look at your sketches and stuff like that, but I'm not going to go, here's how you transfer, here's how you do color comps, here's how you do value, here's that, all that is going to be on you. Okay, does that all make sense?
Yeah. Is there anything else? Like you said, perspective-wise, some stuff was wonky. So
Well, these aren't in perspective, but okay, so there's a thing where it's like, there's a lot of children's books that are not in perspective.
yeah, I wasn't sure what to do because I didn't want to take out a grid and stuff because I thought it would look kind of stiff.
If you know how to do it, look, I know this is like further down the line because I rarely ever put down a perspective grid or anything. I just sort of go. Now there's certain things where I would, okay. The last toy job I worked on, I was kind of building things out of very perspective-y things, but that was like product design and all that. But, and then also this tree right here, you got to really make a choice about how you're going to design that.
Okay.
Right. Cause I got all this random mark making here.
You
know, is it going to be like random mark making is the enemy? Yeah.
Yes. Sure.
You know, is it going to be a big, you know, tree? And then I'm going to put all these big roots in it. And then I can get a little of this kind of stuff in there. You know, and some branch. And then am I going to do like stylized bark? You know what I mean? Am I just going to put a silhouette here, you know, of my leaves? Then maybe this is mostly just washes in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Another bush in here. But don't ever make anything with random marks.
Okay.
Oops. I mean, everybody does it, but you got to get out of the habit of it. Because then when you go to paint something, you go, okay, what is that? How do I paint it? You know? Because if I've got, you know, a lot of this, God damn it, a lot of this kind of thing, it's I can't paint it. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be designed for me to paint it. So
Okay.
make sure that you figure that out. And, you know, here.
In terms of like the bus and the alligator and stuff, is it fine?
Let me see something here. I just want to see if oops. If you can, you know, if all I need to see is these hands and he's angled out a little more. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Then I also wonder, because dogs go out of their mind when they're doing this. If it's like really, and I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of.
Or maybe even back here. That's too far. But I mean, they hang out with their, I mean, they look ridiculous. You know what I mean?
I can exaggerate it.
So
yeah.
I kind of like just seeing his, you know, his whole body hanging out and just seeing his hands right here. Right there. Right?
Okay.
Because then you can really pushing yourself out and looking over because they're smelling stuff. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I never really realized that. I was listening to some article about dogs. Does that all make sense?
Mhm.
Dogs and their sense of smell, and they were saying when they're doing that, they can smell everything as they're going by. They're like, there's a squirrel, there's a this, there's a that. You know, they can smell everything.
Thank you.
Okay, where's Gavin?
I'm here.
Closer. But what's her reaction? I don't know her reaction.
Well, before I had her reaction too heavy, and then I took her away her reaction. So I just tried to give her a reaction, but not like overbearing, just kind of noticing him. Like
The problem now is it feels very neutral. Does that make sense?
What should the feeling be?
I think, well, we talked about this. It should be she's seeing an alligator in the street. You know what I mean? While she's walking her dog. I don't think it should be like, oh my God, but it should be like
jaw dropped or something.
Well, sort of like what? Like just like you would be for the first second, you'd be like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sort of a
Yeah, I think I'm having trouble like finding that a little bit.
well, that's expressions are tricky, especially something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is she disapproving of this? Like, I just go through all that stuff in my head. And then to be honest, what I usually do is I just do a whole bunch of takes on the expression.
Yeah.
And like, I don't try and nail it on the first one. I do a bunch. You know what I mean? Because I'm not probably going to nail it on the first one. I would guess most people don't, but you know, I might start off with snooty, you know, raised eyebrows. I don't know why yet. And then I'll just go through a whole series of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then what's her hair like? Okay. And I can put those eyebrows over her hair. It doesn't matter. It's a cartoon thing. Making her too much like a dude, but that's okay. Looks like Scooby-Doo a little bit. You know, and I would just go through a whole bunch of these, and I'm not worried about whether I make it look like her or not yet. I don't care. Maybe I'd push these way up here. I'm starting to like this one a little bit that I just did. Is she a little older? Which probably would work. Then can I go? You know, give her these kind of glasses. Just depends on how old she is. You know, and then I just run through a bunch of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't spend any more time on them than that, and I don't go any further than that with them. And I'll land on one, and I'll go, that's it. It's really a repetition thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I definitely feel like that's where I need to spend most of my time now too.
Just do it like that. And the other thing you can do, like you have this scanned. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just go, I'm going to put a layer above this. And you can do it on paper. I mean, I do it on paper too, but you already have it scanned if you have a tablet or something. And I'll just go. Put another layer. So that white layer I can turn on and off. Put another one up here. And then I'll just start doing the same thing. But I'm not trying to like go to finish or anything. I'm just trying to find it. Don't like it yet, you know, so I just go through a bunch of them. And the nice thing about this is if I do land on one, then I can take this. That's annoying. You know, and I can just kind of adjust it. And might be able to use it for my starting point. Right?
Yep.
But that's the way I would do it. Now I think the neck's too long, so I'd probably go, okay, let's move this down a little bit. And then maybe she's pulled back just slightly. You know, can I push her forward a little bit? So then I might get into like the posture a little bit. But this whole thing to me is just this process of refining and finding. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, with the legs, I'd want a little more. I'd want, again, you know, when you're doing like a skirt like that, you can kind of come over here and sort of just loop it out. Like I might do it like that, so it's a little more interesting. And then wrap this around that. And then as it goes around here, it's going to compress. Then around here, and then I'm going to give that a little silhouette, and then maybe a little of that. And then I'm going to make sure that there's a transition, like maybe a belt or something. I don't know what. Yeah, she has a belt. And make sure that this is a big fun buckle or something. You know, I always want to hyper design everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then like her legs, and I go, okay, maybe this one's out like that. This one's more like that. Kind of shoes does she have on? I'll figure that out. Swing in one hand over here. This hand's here. So on and so forth, right?
Yep.
Same thing with the dress. If you want to do a pleated skirt, you could do the same thing. Only now I'd zigzag this. Compress it, and then I could pull it up. You know, and I could start making a pleated skirt, so on and so forth. But I'm starting it all with simple shapes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yep. And then I was gonna ask you, like, the leaves in the corner, I was trying to make it like there's like trees on both sides to fill that spot and
Yeah.
frame it. Do you think that will work?
Uh-huh.
All right.
That almost always works.
All right.
But what you want to do is mass them together,
Yeah.
right? Like you can have a little, you could do it just like that actually. But if you want to have a branch, you still, the leaves still need to get into these kind of big. If you ever look at like leaves in silhouette, it's almost like an ink blot.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to kind of shape it enough where it looks like leaves, and that's it. And the good thing about that, I don't know if I do it on both sides, because see how they're flipping and they're echoing each other.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do that. I just do it on one side.
And then like no tree, or you're saying the branch?
I just do no tree on one side. I'd probably put it on, or whatever side makes sense.
All right.
You know?
And then I have a question about the value too. You see how like in the buildings are the darkest part?
Yeah.
I know like in real life, the things closest to you are more dark, and as they go back, they lighten up.
Yeah.
Do you think what take I should do on that? Like
Well,
more realistic, or you think this works?
Okay, you got to remember, you have the foreground elements don't have almost any value.
Yeah.
So if these foreground elements let's just do something real simple here. I'm just gonna literally make this a dark value. If all this, here's her hair, let's say her skirt has got some value, some shadows, maybe his hat's dark, maybe his pants are dark. Now they're sitting on the same plane. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So now, because ideally I want that foreground stuff to really read. Oops. So now if I go here, now that makes a little more sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a little too light, but let's pull it up a little. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That helps.
So it's just because you didn't have any dark values in the foreground. And your eye likes to see contrast. So it's going, oh, there's the contrast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just got to build it back to front. And by the way, those rules get broken once in a while. I get it. You know what I mean? Like they're out here. I got a forest right outside the house. And sometimes the stuff in the foreground gets really light in the way the sun's hitting and everything. Everything behind it starts going darker. But that's cool too, because now you have this dark shape and that foreground shape pops out with light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would just do that.
All right.
Okay. Where's Ian?
Here.
What's his hand doing here?
Well, he's looking like he's like opening his hand up.
Okay, get his hand so it's a more natural gesture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, gotcha.
And then sort of flesh out his shoes, his pants a little more, his shirt a little more. But I like the alligator and stuff, and I like the pose.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay?
Gotcha. He's in like in a pet shop.
Yeah. No, he's in the classroom, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they could have fish in a classroom. Well, I like these guys look more mad than scared. I like that too. Yeah, just bring him up to the same level as the alligator. I like the alligator.
Oh, thank you.
Where are you at?
Right here, Professor.
Oh, this is the one pushing up the hill. It's starting to get a little confusing now.
Oh, okay.
And these eyes are anime eyes, correct?
Yes.
No anime eyes.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
Or hair. See all that pointy hair?
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
I always get kids and they go, that's not anime here. It's like, that's anime here. And the problem with anime, and here's the problem with it, and it's the same thing with Disney. I just think anime is very recognizable. It's somebody else's style. You're just pulling somebody else's language. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I see it with Disney too. And I see people who are do the whole Glen Keane thing with the girls with the long foreheads and then the nose is dropped and it swoops down. Like I see that all the time. That's a Glen Keane thing, as far as I know.
All right.
And as soon as I see that, I go, that's Glen Keane. You ain't Glen Keane. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The anime thing is different. I look at it and I go, these expressions are horrible. This design language doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's fine for that stuff. I get it. But don't pull it into your own work.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I mean, if it's your own stuff, that's fine, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's not good in your portfolio. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we got to get this where I feel like I know what's going on a little more. He's getting very cramped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we really got to get the sense that he's pushing this up a hill, right?
Sounds good.
So I don't know. This might be a case where you go, I mean, and I don't know, you'd have to explore just a couple of quick thumbnails. Is this better if it's like, the kid's sort of in a side view, and then I'm seeing the alligator? Boy, that's a weird alligator. From a side view?
Yeah,
Does that
that,
make
that
sense?
can work. Mm-hmm.
I just think it's going to clarify it.
Sounds good.
And then again, you know, what's back here?
Mm-hmm.
And then you could even put your type like right here. It'd be kind of cool.
Sounds awesome. Hmm.
Or it could, you can't really, yeah, it could. You might be able to make it follow this little shape right here. So it kind of does that. That'd be cool. Yeah, so I think it'd be easier to get a clear read if it's more of a side view.
Sounds good.
Okay. Is he going up a street?
He's pushing him up a hill.
This guy should be holding the little handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. Saying he's holding a little handle, he's steering it, and the other kid's like pushing him up the hill. That's good. You know, and I wouldn't, and again, I just put him right in the gutter. Do you notice?
Yeah.
So I get him out of that gutter. Maybe there or something. Plus putting him dead center is not a great idea anyway. So something like that. Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know why my alligator looks so weird this time. I'd have his feet sticking out here. And then where's his tail?
I thought originally I tried to curve it around his body, but I think it would be better if it was like sticking out or something.
It could just come up over the back and behind the kid.
All right.
A little bit. Because I like it. You don't always have to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have any questions?
Nope. No anime.
No anime.
Just leave him like over to the left a little bit, not near the gutter.
Yeah, just however you work him out, just make sure he's not dead center.
Sounds good.
Okay. Like you might go, hey, I like him up here, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It gets a little weird if you push them too far towards the top because then they're going out of frame a little bit.
Yeah.
But sometimes that tension works too, but I don't think in a children's book so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like that's really coming down to sort of staging, right?
Yeah.
How do I stage this scene where it's very clear? You right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to explore a lot of different things, you know. And that's why this really fast little thumbnail-y stuff, that's your bread and butter. You know what I mean? Because that's where you just go boom, 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 and just knock out a bunch of stuff. You don't care if it's a great drawing. The only time I care that it's a decent drawing that's readable is if I have to send it to somebody or yeah, I'm going to use it in a meeting or something like that, then I'd care a little bit about that. But I'm still going to do this. Then I'm probably just going to put another layer over it or another piece of trace over it. And I'm going to refine it just enough for the meeting. And that's it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it.
Okay.
Okay. Where's, who is this?
Hi, Leah.
Oh, okay. Well, this is better. Yeah.
Yeah, but because I saw like, all of the other people's, I feel like this is too boring. So I put a quick sketch in chat.
I don't think it's boring, but I'll look. Hang on. Where's chat?
I shoved another kid in there.
Another what?
I shoved another kid in there and made it like more 2-point perspective.
Somebody put gesture is key. That's true. Who said that? Natalie?
Yep.
Do you write that? That's totally true. And really, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're trying to get to in this conversation, to be honest. That's good. That's a good comment.
Thanks.
I didn't diss Klaus. You know what? Okay, you just got me on a tear. Hang on, Leah. I'll get right back to it.
Sorry.
There's another thing about that movie that bothers me. You know what it is? What? It's got jumbled design in it. There's parts of that movie that feel very sharp edge and almost a little Tim Burton-y, and then parts of the movie don't feel anything like that. It feels like a disconnect in the design language. Does that make sense?
I just saw it more as like, because since it's the two clans fighting, it's like one is rounder and the other one is like...
It didn't come off to me like that. It felt like two designs from two different movies. You know what I mean? And I found one of the I guess it's the pointier stuff, whatever that was. It's a design language that a friend of mine uses all the time. He's an animator and he used to draw like that years ago. So I think it's like an animation thing because I've seen it a few times and I just never liked that style. He still draws like that. You know what I mean? Very, I don't know. It's very sharp. Anyway, that
what movie are we
bothered me.
talking
What
about?
bothered me is it felt like two components. It felt like two totally different design ideas that didn't feel right living in the same world. You know what I mean? And I didn't not like the movie, but there was a lot of things that I just didn't think was that great about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think it's terrible or anything. And I liked it better towards the end. Okay, here it is. But I'm also a sucker for like sentimental nice stuff too. So that might be it too. What's going on with this? There it goes. Okay, what's this kid doing? Telling on him? Where'd you go?
Yeah, I thought my mic wasn't muted.
Okay, what do you guys think?
I think the one with the kid is better.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that one too.
What do you guys do?
Just thought it's less empty.
It's what?
It's less empty.
Well, it's not even, yes, okay, that's fine, but you actually put something in there that you didn't just fill up a space that helps tell the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's important because if you think like what you just said, where you go, oh, it's empty, I'm gonna put something in there. That's it. Everything to me, as much as possible, you need to distill this down to just what it needs, right? And then you can do a little bit, especially with a kid's book or whatever. Then you can have some fun and go, hey, I'm going to put this back there and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And, then you can have some fun with that. But the core of this image and what I look at first and second and third, that's the core of it and the message, right?
Yeah.
And this is wildly better than the ones you were doing before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now watch this across the belly. Where's Where's our point of view? Where would you say the eye level is here?
It's it's higher than it should be, huh?
No, I don't think it's higher. But what I'm saying is
No?
I'm up, at least up here somewhere. So that means
Wait, I have my
like these are actually going to go this way, probably. If I'm
Yeah.
up looking down this way, right?
Yeah.
Minor stuff. This probably will get a pull fold like that. He might get one there. And I know that's not important yet. You don't want to overdo folds, but you do. I think you do want to have some in it. Okay, and then this leg right here is a little weird. It's actually going to come probably where I see the bottom of the other foot here too. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I was hoping to keep the fatness.
Oh, you keep the fatness, keep that.
Yeah.
That's fine. It just, the foot is it's not gonna be way over like that. It's gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Right. And there's something about, when these feet kind of get a little bit like that, it gets a little more kid-like, or even it can even go this way sometimes where they kind of go in. You know what I mean?
I was hoping to have the toe curled in so that it makes you feel more guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's all good. That's good. I would give these a really
Double
definite
it?
angle.
Oh, okay.
You can have some teeth, right?
Oh, I was hoping to keep it as cute as possible.
I think you can still be cute with teeth.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
Yeah, I was
Just
thinking about it.
And we're not making a documentary. Okay. No, because a lot of people will go,
Yeah.
well, alligators have teeth, and it's a kid's book, man. The alligator can, as long as it reads as an alligator, it's my decision what an alligator looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as it works. And I know that's an alligator, so it's working. I give them a little bit of something that shows that there's a flatness to the top of the nose, or a plane there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And some of that, you can do with you have to figure that out.
And crumble over his face.
A lot of this texture and stuff you can do with the paint. Make sure she gets worked out, like this hair.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to do that? And it's going to part right there. And they just get these guys. I know you just drew it real fast. I get it.
Yeah.
Be careful with that hand. This would probably, feels like it would angle back to me. Well, maybe not.
I'll fix the hand. It does look kind of twisted.
No. All this stuff is, I get it. You just drew it super fast.
No, but
and that's how you should draw it, by the way.
The hand was
spending
there.
all this time on it. Yeah, go with this one.
Okay.
Good. You worked it out. That's cool. Now refine, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what you're doing this week.
Yeah.
I hate missing this one day. It sucks. Or that week.
Mike?
Huh?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I thought, so you had a spiel about having the paper stretched. So I thought we were supposed to have it on paper this week. So I stretched the paper, but I kind of failed.
You shouldn't be stretching the paper yet.
I stretched it and I don't think it worked. So do I soak it and stretch it again?
Okay, I just linked the video on that whole process. Okay. So what you do is you do the drawing, you transfer the drawing to the watercolor paper and refine the drawing however you're going to do it. Then you soak it.
Okay.
And then you stretch it. So now it just goes stiff as a board, or drum, tight as a drum. And then your drawing's on there. Sometimes I go in there and if I need to, I reinforce a few little things, tape it off, and I start my washes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But like I already messed it up.
I know, you just
Can
have
I
to
still save it? Like, is it
there's
too
no way
late?
to, well, the only way you could save it is if you did a rub down transfer onto that same water. I mean, watercolor paper is not that expensive, correct?
Yeah.
I would just redo it. But you could transfer it onto that paper. You could rub down transfer it and then do your drawing on that. Then I would just give that a maybe spritz some water all over it again so it sucks into the paper a little bit, and you could reuse it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
Why you
Mike.
sound so bummed?
I feel bad for the paper, and I don't have
You
a
could use
car,
the
so I
paper for
don't.
something else. Like use it for something else.
Yeah.
Use it to swatch on the side.
I'll probably use it for a color comp or something like that.
No, you gotta draw anime fan art on it.
Ugh.
I don't even watch anime.
Good, thank you.
Do it just to spite Mike.
It's a
I'll do
scourge.
Disney fan art.
It's a scourge across the country, anime. Okay, does that answer everything? Leah?
Yes.
Did I answer everything?
Yeah, that was my last of my questions.
Where is Michael? Oh, I remember this. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is this the one where he's hiding, right?
Yeah.
I think he's still got to get the expression and everything, where he's hiding. Does that make sense?
Okay, so maybe more.
Got to be
more
like
underneath the table more than just like pushing it.
yeah,
up.
and sort of tucking in and looking up and that kind of thing, where you got to really get that vibe that he's hiding, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously you got to flesh these things out a little more, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest with you, I always try and get them just everything placed and all that stuff, and then I go into my like trying to trick out the drawing thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what's happening here?
Oh, honestly, I just kind of wanted to see what it looked like. I kind of want to see how it looked if like he took like a bite out of the rug, just to show more of a mess.
I was going to do the rug like that. I'd probably bring it into the room a little more.
Okay.
Then it's going to, and then if I have a pattern on it or something, then it's going to eat up a little bit of space. He's standing on something. Is his hands both behind his back?
No, it's a little bit hard to see, but his left hand is going up behind his head.
What, like that?
Like he's kind of scratching the back of his head, like, oops, kind of.
Be careful. Don't spend too much time on that. If you can make it work, cool. That's a tricky pose.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, here you can see it's kind of hard to read. So, yeah.
It's a tricky pose. Okay. And then a few things in the background, right?
Yeah. And then last week you said, to put some kind of flesh out the alligator a bit. Is this okay?
Do what?
To flesh out the alligator a bit, because I think mine was a bit flat before.
Yeah. Well, I would still, like I might go on these eyes and put a little more business around them. I might bring this. You're doing a little more graphic thing, so I get that. But and then this. But I'm gonna flesh things out a little bit.
I can
Does that
also
make sense?
Do slightly more realistic approach to
No,
this.
it's not realistic. It's just enough shape language that it's interesting to paint. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not realistic. I mean, I know I'm pulling some semi-realistic things out. That's just where my brain goes. I don't really want you to lose your graphic quality, but you got to have enough in there where it's not just a big flat shape.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And some of that, again, can be in the paint. You can complicate it up in the paint a little bit. That's a bad word, but you can add some interest to it in the paint a little bit with paint, but you don't want to just rely on nothing but that. You just want to make sure that it's sort of got enough structure to it where it's cool to paint. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
By the way, I'm not trying to put you guys on the spot when I ask if you have questions. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm answering all your questions. I remember this. Okay, so what's changed now? The kids here?
Yeah, I was just kind of exaggerating elements in the background more, like making bigger statements, like you said.
Yeah, okay.
Like the teacher's leg. Yeah, I added more to the kids in the foreground. Yeah.
I think you're pretty close. Is that a desk up there?
Yeah.
That's a long desk. Yeah?
Should I make it shorter?
Nah, I think it's fine. Let's just make sure these two kids are working here. I think you're pretty close. What's your major?
Illustration.
Oh, you gonna straight illustration? I know I ask this all the time, but it's just curious. What kind again?
I'm just getting the illustration certificate right now.
Well, what do you want to do? Do you know?
I want to do a lot of different things.
Good.
Like children's books are one of them, but I also do want to get into like animation.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I'm taking character design, that kind of stuff also. So.
Yeah. So a lot of people are doing that model now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
A lot of people doing, whatever, entertainment design, animation, whatever you want to call it. And then they're doing children's books and they're doing product and they're doing this and they're, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's a video I'm going to play for you guys. I forgot about it. Once we get through all this heavy lifting, and I think I mentioned this. It's he's like the associate chair or whatever at Art Center, but he's going through a lot of student work and he's just talking about a lot of that idea of, hey, this person could work in merchandising. They could also work in animation. They can also do this. They're very entrepreneurial and they, blah, 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 blah. And just all these, because there's so many avenues. I think especially now, that I think it can get overwhelming. You know what I mean? For a student trying to figure out like, what path do I want to go down? Well, maybe a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
Because I see a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this, by the way. A lot of like, oh, you got to focus on this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's one path. But I also think there's the people like me who go, I don't want to just do the same shit over and over again. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to go do that. Okay, now I love doing this, but I've been doing it for 5 years. I want to go do something else, I'd say I'm going to talk about this tonight in a few minutes. Finish out these two kids here, and then I'd start going to value. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to at some point. How are you going to transfer this?
I still have to watch the transfer video, so I'll see that. But I might do light table.
Okay. Just make sure, like I said, that you don't go and just outline it. It kills it.
Yeah, that's what I've done a lot in the past when I've used a light table. That's kind of what I've done. So
everybody does.
Yeah.
It's why I'm pounding you over the head about it, because I want to get that out of your system now.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Like this idea of going to finish is something that's really important, like being able to go to finish. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you see it all the time where people like, they might be doing really great loose sketches or something, and you're doing something like this and they can't take it into tight, it's a weird, you don't think about it. Like, I don't think I thought about that at all when I was a student. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then when I was taking things to tighter or whatever, like I had one teacher that liked us to do, it was figure drawing. She liked us to do it tight. I hated it. But, and then sometimes we'd work over our drawings that we did and tighten them up. And man, it was just, it just always made me feel like a failure all the time. So I'm like, God, every time I try and clean these things up, they look like crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a good lesson. And that's why she was doing it, is to go, you don't know how to do this. You know what I mean? It's like, you think that because you're doing that you understand how to do this. And I didn't, big learning curve, big painful learning curve.
It's always hard to keep the energy of a sketch.
Yes, exactly. And that's why everything I do is based around that idea. It's like, I want to keep my drawing the way I like it, which is, loose and fresh and, intertwined with the color when I'm doing this kind of thing, weaving in and out of the color, all that kind of stuff. That's what I want it to do. You know what I mean? And I can't do that with some. And by the way, there's some people that do that. They go in and do really tight, clean line drawings, and it looks beautiful and it's great. I'm not saying that that's not doable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I'd always argue that if you start it nice and loose and then you go to that idea, you're in a lot better shape, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's what they try and get into your head in life drawing. You know, when they go start off with a gesture, just like you said it's all about gesture. It is all about gesture. You're right. And I'm glad you said that, because that really gets to the heart of the point of 90% of what I've been saying. It really is about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's taking that gesture and being able to push it into a finish, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Where are you at? Where's Olivia?
I'm right here.
Is anything changed on this one?
I added some more detail. I mainly started trying to see how it would look on paper, because
okay,
I didn't know if you wanted more detail for the what is it called, the digital. So I figured I'd start doing it on paper and then see how that detailed transferred. So
yeah, I don't like the word detail, but that's fine. Again, I think we talked about this. I think his snout needs to get a little more, or there needs to be enough here that I really know that's an alligator, right?
Okay.
It's feeling a little like, if I put little arms on it like that, it starts to feel like a T-Rex a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that necessarily a bad thing though, since they're like kind of the same, like not species, but they came from the same like time period?
Alligators are around right now.
I know, but that's because they survived extinction.
I don't know. I actually don't know their whole history.
I'm pretty sure that
I think that if I draw something in and they're talking about an alligator and mine looks like a dinosaur, I don't think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Period. Right? Unless there's some visual play on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if you want like a really giant alligator or something, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of pushing into that T-Rex territory because I want it to look Jurassic Parkish. I don't know.
Okay.
So just make sure that we're getting enough of the alligator vibe, right?
Yeah.
I like the teeth. And make sure he doesn't get too mean looking. I'm making him to look too mean.
I might make his head point down more then, so
I think
that
it's
his
just, I
snout
think it's
doesn't
just
hit the
sort of,
gutter.
I think this is the same thing as we were talking about with the one with the poodle and the thing walking down the street, where I was saying, just go through a bunch of just quick iterations.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I'm hoping that you guys will understand this process in the way that I like it. I just throw things down and then I refine. I throw things down, I refine. I throw things down, I refine. That's basically what I do. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm always pretty big and loose with those first things. I can refine almost anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you give me a bunch of shapes, I can refine it into something. Yeah, and the kid's good. Again, hand should be pretty presentational, right?
Yeah.
I don't really have that much problem with the kid. I might do something fun, with that. I'm always trying to figure out what I can plus and fool around with. I don't have too many problems with the kid. This is fine. Be careful with this, where these chairs are becoming just sort of a plane and then a plane, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting rid of the chairs because I don't really like them that much.
Okay.
So I might put something else there.
I think if you put, I don't know. I don't even know if that needs to get explained. I mean, sometimes they clear the room out for stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's all that big a deal to explain. I just want to make sure that he feels like an alligator. And then, you can start to flesh out these kids down here. What's their reaction?
Oh, yeah, they're the shapes right now.
Yeah, which is fine. That's how I'd start it. Yeah, I'd start. I think what I would do is, again, be careful with this. This is like Probably get a little thicker to make a bigger statement. Big blocky legs. What's on here?
Oh, I haven't managed to put all the detail on it from the thumbnail yet.
Okay. Well, this can have some stuff, a baseboard to finish the floor, whatever this is. Maybe.
Oh yeah, the sink area might work, Andrew. That's a good idea.
What's a sink area?
A lot of elementary schools have like just a sink in the classroom for some reason.
Yeah, they have like a counter and they have like a sink on the counter and they
That could
have
work.
like little things and cabinets.
Yeah, that'll work.
Just if you want like forms back there. I don't know if you need it, but just a suggestion.
Well, yeah, and they're like built into the thing like this, and then there's like this, and then a sink, right?
Yeah. And
yeah, I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really like that idea.
I do too.
You unlocked like an old memory, man.
I looked at a lot of my reference for this was a lot of me. I sent my mom to my old preschool and I had her FaceTime me and walk around. So like she was like walking through the playground and stuff. So I got like a lot of preschool like memories unlocked and I tried to incorporate them into the drawing.
You know what sucks about this now? If you go and do research like anywhere near kids, man, people are
Oh yeah, they'll be on you. Yeah, it sucks.
I probably told you guys this. I got busted at the Cerritos Millennial Library for that. You know that one at Cerritos?
Why?
I'm listening.
Because have you ever been to that library? It's a bitchin' library. You ever been there?
I haven't.
Okay, so they got this kids section. It's got like it's a totally cool. Like you go in, it's got this giant aquarium with a shark in it. Then you go in, it's got trees. It's got trees growing up, and then they got a life-size cast of a T-Rex, right? So I'm like, cool. So I go in there to I'm drawing the T-Rex, right? And it's a big library, and I love that library actually. And anyway, so I went in there, I was drawing, and then they have this glass room where they do like events or something for the kids, and somebody was in there reading to the kids, and there was moms in there and all that. And I started drawing the kids. I was like sitting out drawing the kids. And then this mom kept glaring at me because she didn't know what I was doing. So I probably thought I was a weirdo. And anyway, so then I walked out, I got done drawing in there. I was going to draw somewhere else in the library. And when I walked out, I ran into two cops because there's a substation there. And then the cops were acting weird because I go, hey guys, or whatever. They didn't say anything. And I go, what's the problem? And they go, what are you doing in there? And I go, I'm drawing. I pull my book out and this is when I was still at Disney. And it's the only time I think in my entire life I didn't have my wallet on me because I wore these shorts that my wallet always fell out. I never do that. And my wallet's in my car. And then they go, well, let's take a look at your wallet or your ID or whatever. And I go, it's in the car. So I had to do the perp walk through the whole library, which pissed me off. Then the perp walk all through the parking lot. And then to my car, show them my ID. And then I showed him my business card. I go, I'm the toy design director of the Disney stores, dude. This is what I do. And it was like one cop was cool. It's a good cop, bad cop. One cop was cool. He goes, I'm going to go over and check this out. And goes to the substation. And then his buddy's standing there. And I go, I've had about enough of this. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, this is harassment now. This is pissing me off. I want to get out of here. And he goes, no, that's not what it is. And I go, yeah, it is. I go, if he comes out here and opens his mouth about any more of this crap, I'm leaving. I don't care. And they finally backed off. But I mean, it went on for like 45 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I told him, I go, look, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you guys really keep an eye on the kids. I think that's great. But clearly that's not what I was doing. Because his buddy even said, the other cop said, he goes, dude, look at his drawings. This guy's not kidding. Like, this is what he does. It's obvious. Like, people don't draw like this. And the other guy just wouldn't have it, you know? Then I went and got another fight with the security people. They got all over me about something. It was totally weird. Anyway, I also threw a light fixture up here. I don't know if you need that or not, but there's something about the light fixture that speaks to how high it is.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Again, these are all just things I throw out there. Okay, so you know what we've got to do, right? I mean, this is a really good start, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the matter?
No, nothing.
I might put the. Go ahead.
I'm just focusing.
Okay, good. Focus is good. Okay, so just start fleshing out.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you got the bones of it here, and then what's going to be on this floor?
I'm thinking about either an ABC rug or one of those like fake map ones that they have.
Yeah, it could be whatever. For sure. I don't know if I'd make it square. I might make it round or something.
Okay.
Or something. Look at some kids' rugs, see if there's anything interesting. They also have those ones that are like big foam, like puzzle pieces.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
They're like different
Yo,
colors.
just type it in the chat.
Huh?
She
What is
just
it?
typed that.
Oh, there it is right there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Is that my last one? Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. The way that I usually do this comp thing, and I can't find mine for some reason, they disappeared. What I usually do is I take my drawing and I scan it or whatever, or take a picture of it, clean up a little bit. And then I put as many up on a page as I can. Let me see if I can find this. I have no idea if I have, because I lost a drive.
I just wanted to jump in for a second. The puzzle piece rug thing, it's if you're looking for reference of that, it's called an interlocking playmat. I figured that out the other day when looking for my own reference.
Yeah, those are cool. Oops. Hang on. See where this is. Okay. So irritating. I'm hoping this isn't on my drive. Oh, nope. Hang on. Okay, maybe it's in here. I might have it in here. Hang on. No, that's not it. What's this? Here we go. Okay, so I'll end up with, where is this? I'll end up with a final drawing, if I can find that. With the final drawing, right? That's not my whole drawing, but that's fine. And then I'm going to line these up on a page. However many up I can get that are big enough. This is fine. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and then what I usually do is I pop them out and I just either Xerox, these are Camille's. Okay, and she's already got some value in here. And then what I do is I just take, okay, that makes sense, right? Yeah? So that's just this, what you're seeing on this screen over here. Okay, then what I do is I just start hitting it with watercolor. In this case, I would go at it with black watercolor. This kind of paper is just going to suck up the black watercolor real fast. It doesn't matter because all I want to do is just get a good value comp. And the reason I like, and I usually, once I have that, if I print it out, like I printed those out here, if I'm printing them out, I'll print out, like if I get, I don't know, 2 or 3 on a page, I might print out 4 pages. So I can just start one and go, that doesn't work, do another one, that doesn't work. And I probably don't spend over 15 minutes on them. Does that make sense? Okay, now the value part of this, I don't care if you do it digitally because you're not mixing anything. You're just figuring out the value structure. I don't care. But the same process goes for color. Okay. And I will print some of those. I'll have to print some out and I'll go over it a little bit with you. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then I'll just do the same thing with my color comps. Okay. That you don't want to do digitally because then you're not going to know what you're mixing when you go to color. Does that make sense? And it's not just that. Now, this kind of paper is not going to react great with watercolor, but it's also sort of a shape making thing. Like the way watercolor makes shapes is very specific. You know, and I kind of want to get into that headspace before I get into the actual piece. Okay. I personally, like if you're going to do you can also do your value comps this way with a marker. I wouldn't, because I want to get my head out of, I don't know why, but my brain, when I start using markers and stuff, a lot of times it goes to sort of very commercial design work. I don't know why. That's just me, maybe. The other thing about markers is I can't really manipulate them like I can the washes of a watercolor. Does that make sense? I mean, I can manipulate watercolor all day long. I can soften an edge. I can wet into wet. I can gradate. I can do, and I can get so many variations of value. When I go to a marker, I've got 10%, 20%, 30%, and it's a whole different game. Does that make sense?
Yep.
What else I want to say? But that process makes sense, right? We're just print, and again, you could do this part digitally, but it makes sense that we're going to print these out and start doing just quick color washes over them, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Because I want to have that done by next week. I want to have color comps done, and then we're rolling into that weekend painting. Does that make sense?
So by Monday, you want the grayscale, and then
I want the grayscale for sure. So you got a lot of work to do. If depending on where you are in your drawing, you got to get that drawing pretty finished out, and then I'd get the drawing finished out before I worried about the value. I'd get the color work, or I'd get the drawing worked out, and then if you want, however you want to do it, if it's and by the way, you could also just do pencil over this. You could use black prism color or something like that. I wouldn't use a color. A lot of people like to use a color, but it can kind of throw you a little bit. If you're using like all blue or all red or something like that, the color can actually throw you a little bit. I think it's better to go with the total neutral like black. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It sometimes the color makes it look better than it is and things like that. And color and black just makes you evaluate it. And the thing you want to think about that, you guys, when you're doing that is where can you mass your darks together? Okay. You don't want a bunch of disparate elements. You know, I got a dark shape here and then a little dark shape here and then one over here and then one right here. Wherever possible, sort of, you know, mass those things together as much as possible. And also think light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, right? If I've got a light value, it's going to pop nice if I put it over a dark, you know, totally obvious, but people don't think about it. And see if you can kind of work that out. That's why it's probably not going to be the first thing that you do that works. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You sense in a theme here: refinement, do a lot, refinement, iterate, try a bunch of things. All right. What people do is they don't enjoy the learn. And by the way, after we're done with this class and all that stuff, make sure that you modify the process to be something that you guys like. I like my whole process. I don't have any part of this process I don't like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I used to do that like everybody else does. Years ago, I'd go, I just want to get to the painting. And the paintings weren't as good because it was like, well, you're rushing the drawing, you're rushing everything to get to the stupid painting. You need to put the time into the pre-painting. You know what I mean? So don't rush through it, you know, like get a nice drawing, get all the value and all those things worked out. And you're going to see that your stuff becomes much more consistently good. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Doesn't take long to do value comps. Okay. Doesn't take that long to do a color comp. Okay. I had a teacher put a gun in my head, made me do it. I hated it at first. And then once I did, I go, oh my God, everything's so much easier. You know what I mean? And it was faster because I go, well, dude, that's going to take me blah, blah, blah time. And it doesn't. It actually is much faster because you actually go through the painting much more confidently and much faster because you've got a roadmap, right? Okay, do I have any other questions?
Yes. If you want us to do the color comps in watercolor, should we print it on watercolor paper?
No,
or...
I just print it on crappy paper.
Okay.
It's not going to react like watercolor paper. But to be honest with you, I don't really give a crap.
Or could we just like sketch out thumbnail versions of them if we want to?
You could do that too.
So,
What I always want to do is not do that. Now, if you want to, that's totally fine. What I want to do is just go, I want to get my head into, let's say it's color comps. I'm just splashing watercolor around and go, oh, what if I make all this like real orangey and, and then it reflects over here and I start just going down the rabbit hole and I don't want to keep redrawing because I want to be in that, that just color flow. You know what I mean? Now, if you like that, do that. Okay.
So if we're almost done with if our drawing's basically done, do you want us to only do grayscale on Monday, or if we have time, should we get into color, or no? Is that like
if you have some time and you feel like your value structure is working, sure.
Okay.
Okay. But I want that drawing done, right?
Yes.
Because without that drawing, we're screwed. Okay. Without a good drawing, we're screwed. Without good design, good drawing, we're screwed, right?
Yep.
And your drawing is in service to design, correct?
Yep.
Now, okay, when you go into life drawing, that's a little more purist. You know what I mean? Like you're in there drawing, you're still designing. I mean, you still are. But to me, it's like that's becomes more of a draftsman thing. And the design's always in that. But I don't know, to me, it's two separate compartments in a weird way. You're right. Then when I go into this and I really go, I want my drawing to be really good, but in service to this idea. I don't want to just, you don't want to do stuff like musicians do where they go, hey, I can play 1 billion miles an hour, and they play over some song. And you're like, that's terrible. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I get it. You're really good at that, but it's, I don't want to listen to it. It's obnoxious. You know what I mean?
What's the drawing equivalent of that?
Putting a bunch of superfluous stuff in there just to show it. Hey, I'm going to do all these crazy poses that don't make any sense. And you're like, okay, I get it. You're good at drawing figures in weird positions or whatever. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Or somebody who always, I'm going to draw this big ripped giant, thing, whatever it is, and you go, that has nothing to do with this at all. But like you study this anatomy crap all the time or comic books or whatever it is. So you want to put that in all the time. You don't want to do that. You want to serve the story. Okay. Just like a good musician serves the song. All that needs is this little 2-note piece right there. That's all it needs. Or I could go in there and play 1,000 miles an hour over it and completely kill the whole thing. It's the same thing, right? Or I'm going to put in tons of, I want to do this sometimes. I go, man, I'm just going to put a big bunch of candles with a bunch of brass lamps all over the place and have it all sparkly and stuff, but it doesn't make any sense for what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to do that. You want to make, and you can do a little of that. You can do some of that in a kid's book or in entertainment design, or so you can do some of that, but the core structure has to work. Then you can do a little bit of icing on the cake and that's fine, but you just don't want to go crazy with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
One of our old students, Rachel, she went to Art Center and she graduated there. And I might have told you guys this, but where she, to me, is showing her, really flexing her monster chops as a illustrator is like she posted something not a while back and it had this, I think it was in a forest or something. And the character was catching all this warm reflected light, like on one side or something. And it was really beautiful and really sophisticated. And I looked at that and I go, that's how you show off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I don't even think she did it to show off, but it looks like, whoa, man, that's like, your stuff. You know what I mean? But it served the picture. It was a really, the picture really needed it. You know what I mean? But I think most people wouldn't have thought of it. Okay. So that, there's the two ways where you can kind of, sure, you want to show your skill and all that stuff, but you show it in just really beautiful picture making. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the name of that bird?
Alan Twitty.
What is it?
Alan Twitty.
Colin?
Alan.
Holland. Why Holland?
Alan.
Alan.
Oh, Howlin. Twitty?
Alan. A-L-A-N.
Oh, Alan. And then Twitty.
Twitty. It's
Do you know who
yep,
Conway Twitty is?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I got a question.
What?
We're doing color comps, black and white.
Doing value comps.
Yeah.
Not color. We'll do color probably Wednesday or by Wednesday.
So
Okay.
black, right? The
Value.
value. Gotcha.
Only value. Okay. Any other questions? We're all good?
Yeah.
We're doing good, Mike.
No, you guys are doing fine. It's not easy, man. It's a process. It's a big process. Okay. Okay, then I'll let you guys go. I'll put up the video tomorrow and all that stuff tomorrow because I'm off tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right, you guys?
Yeah, later.
Get it all done.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
on Monday.
Value.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep, value.
Mike.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.